right, guys, thank you for joining. This is Chris Ehmke, and I'm here with my surprise co-host,
Tim Mahoney.
And this is the Diesel Performance Podcast. So today, guys, we have a very exciting show. A lot of buzz in the industry over the last couple days in regards to some new support in the Duramax world, a couple different platforms. And we thought, what better option do we have than getting on Andrew Bailey with HP Tuners? So, Andrew, how are you?
What's up, guys? How are you guys doing?
You know, we're busy, and it's because of you that we're busy.
I'm busy too.
So, you know, kind of the cat's finally out of the bag. It's been a long awaited support for a couple different platforms, but I think at the top of the list, you know, kind of go over some of the new support, and the 10-speed Allison tuning seems to be, you know, kind of like that big hot ticket that everybody's after.
Oh yeah, I mean the T93 has been something that everyone's kind of, you know, been very interested in, been unable to get into. You know, GM and everybody else, I mean, you guys know 22 Cummins, obviously, 22 Ford, all this stuff, it gets harder and harder to get into. You know, and us and other companies are starting to get into this stuff, but, you know, T93 was one we were always lacking. And, you know, we put the guys to work. Engineering got hard to work on their part. And, you know, honestly, we developed a great editor. You know, this works on your diesel trucks, and this also works on your gas trucks, your gas cars. So it's all across the whole T93 spectrum, which is really, really cool. And then obviously we paired that with a dual launch with the E46 with the baby Duramax and the, you know, up to the 2023s. And then obviously 2023 changed, you know, the refresh. But, you know, we've got that truck, which is great. So we have multiple applications launching in one day. So it was kind of crazy. I sold a ton of TCMs yesterday morning. In like a 2-hour stretch, we completely sold out. Got some really, really great customers like you guys, and, you know, all the testing we've done and everything. I don't know, just it's been crazy. It really has been.
So when we talk about in-house, right, because we're primarily Duramax or diesel-oriented, I always refer to it as the 10-speed Allison, right? But you had kind of mentioned the T93, which is the controller code. You touched a little bit on it, but GM uses this 1093 controller on a lot more platforms than just the diesel space.
Oh, absolutely. Camaro, you know, all 2020 and newer Camaros are using that. You're seeing it in some of your 1500 trucks. You're also seeing it behind your E46, so that's really cool. You're seeing it in a lot of different places, and I think GM has kind of settled in to keep this controller, you know, for quite some time. Like you saw the A50 was superseded by the T87 and the T87A, which you guys have been tuned for a long time, doing a great job. And so now, you know, we're just a T93, and it's great, man. It's awesome.
So Andrew, you said something when you first started talking about engineering's been working hard on this, and then you kind of proceeded with what that looks like in getting that product to us. I mean, what does you know, T93, I guess specifically, or a general thing look like that for HP tuners as far as like engineers working hard? Do they just like, are you guys just holding out on us and you have all these things waiting and you just pull it out of the freezer one day and like, hey, we're going to release this week, or what does that look like, and what is the process of getting that from a time, I guess, you know, you don't have to go too in depth there. Right? Yeah, proof of concept. So by the time, you know, hey, this is the epiphany, what does that testing look like, maybe with your guys' dealers? And then when do you say, hey, this is finally ready? I mean, I'm never ready for a launch, right? I always want more time. So what does that look like, I guess, from when is the right time to launch? You know, I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say. You talk to me every day.
Yeah, so everything's a little bit different. It's all structured a little bit different, right? So maybe a certain ECM is good just with a bench calibration, right? And they know that, and they tested it, its definitions, you know, it's flashing protocols, right, and things of that nature. And then, you know, some of the stuff we need to be a little more delicate with, right? We knew T93 was going to be massive. I mean, I talk to folks like you every day, Tim, right? You know, we talk about things that are needed in the industry, and you're like, man, it'd be great if we could actually get support for that. And, you know, sometimes it's information or whatever you may find, or sometimes it's a breakthrough with R&D, or, you know, whatever it could be, right? Or, you know, it's always a different type of scenario. But overall, it's like, you know, we spend a lot of time testing this stuff, like for instance, you guys, it's like we approached you guys. Hey, do you guys want to test this? You were like, heck yeah. We spent 8 weeks testing this, with you guys. And I chose 2 beta testers for this one, and I kind of try to spread the love, right? Amongst, everyone. I mean, we have a ton of great dealers, and, there's a lot of great dealers, but there are a few calibrators, right, that, are actually writing the calibrations for the vehicles and understand the data logging process. And, you guys have a lot of experience in all the maps and things of that nature. And so it's like, well, what's missing, right? For instance, might be missing. I know, for instance, when we were talking about things, and going back and forth, we were missing a couple things in data logging, and we fixed that. And, without that vital feedback from the boots on the ground, which is you guys that use the products every day, our goal is to make the products the best they possibly can. And, we take that feedback, give it back to the engineers, and we'll come back and we'll go back and forth. And so it's been about an 8-week process for us. It gives you guys plenty of time to develop great calibrations to bring to the market and to confidently say that, for sure that this, the E46 product's good. How many horsepower it can really make and the emission system can, live, or, how well the T93 tuning for E46 truck or an E41 truck are going to do. Like you spent the time and the effort, and you're towing with it, or you made a video the other day, Tim, and you dropped it on your personal page about, hey, I'm tuning Jason Worley's truck, and this is a ride and drive scenario. Typically during this scenario, this would be the case with your transmission would be hunting for gears or shifting up or down, and it's like you've eliminated that through better calibrations, and I'm not saying GM have terrible calibrators by any means. It's like they spend hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars in developing, ECMs and TCMs and calibrations for each vehicle. And, they're making it for the masses, but a lot of us that are, I would just say, I guess, motorsports enthusiasts or blue collar folks that like to work their truck or use their truck for, for towing or hauling, it's like we might demand a little more than somebody else. So it's up to calibrators like yourself. And, like obviously Corey from PPI, we had him testing the E46 and the T93 as well. And, you guys did a great job giving us feedback, which is vital to making the best product on the market.
Yeah. And evolution, I guess, right? I guess that's what I was going to say is.
Andrew touched on, the GM calibration isn't terrible, but the GM calibration on the trans side of things was never intended for 200 or 300 more foot-pounds of torque, or for a 37-inch tall tire, or for that bigger turbocharger that us and our R&D efforts we've seen. Okay, you start to throw some more power at one of these engines, the transmission doesn't necessarily know what's going on. And there's been other loopholes, shift kits that we've been able to do over the course of the last couple of years, but it still didn't allow us to change the transmission shift schedule and tell the trans, hey, I want you to shift and I want you to hold the gear, or I want you to lock up the converter and I want you to stay locked up through the gear selection or the gear change. So it's been being on the inside of this, watching, Andrew and you, Tim, go back and forth with Nick over at Calibrated here, go through that R&D effort's been a cool thing, and being able to get behind the wheel of the trucks that we've been driving over the last few years and making these, kind of complaints of like, well, I wish it did this and I wish it did that, to see that, finally make its way through to the other end of, hey, that supports here and that supports live.
Well, you get in, there were so many rumors, right? I mean, 2 or 3 years, 3 years plus, I guess, guys have been driving these 20 plus trucks. And then you get in a 20 plus Ford and you hear so many rumors of how the transmissions are supposed to be very similar, right? And you get in a Ford and you're like, man, this is how
no comparison
should drive.
No comparison.
And at least in my mindset, that's kind of where I was like, man, like if tuning does come out and we can do something like this, that's going to be a game changer. So
you can add more life to the transmission. You guys know that. I mean, it's like there's so many benefits to TCM tuning, especially once you're doing ECM tuning. I get a common question a lot. It's like, how many horsepower do I need to add to my new diesel truck? And I'm like, maybe 25 or 50. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, the thing has a freaking, 1,000 foot-pounds of torque, and it's got tons of horsepower. I said, it's usually, you just want it to be calibrated to where it drives better. Honestly, in my opinion, everybody's got an opinion on the situation, right? But it's, I feel like it's most important to actually, focus on the drivability. Does the throttle response work, or do you hit the pedal and it, 4 seconds later it takes off? You're like, my goodness, man, like I don't want to drive a truck like that. But if I'm trying to get out of the way of oncoming traffic, or or emergency equipment or anything. It's like, no, I don't want that. Or I'm towing up a hill and I need to get a little bit more juice going to get my load up. It's like it's going to be a big deal. So
well, I think one of the things too, we did a video over at Calibrated when the 10-speed stuff went. You guys launched it over at HPT. We had all of our videos in the hopper ready to go live with the marketing side of it, and Nick did a video with a comparison of his personal truck on the dyno, one of our test trucks, and it was a truck with the same calibration engine-wise, but it had a stock trans, and then we compared that to that same truck with a trans tune. And a lot of times, like Andrew, you're like, 20, 50 horsepower is really all you need to add. But when you put that into a truck with a stock trans, you're not actually harnessing all of that power added to the ground. So we did this simulation back and forth, and it was like a 10% difference across the board from like 25 to 85 miles an hour. And that just goes to show, like, tuning the transmission to a vehicle is worth horsepower. It's not necessarily that the engine's going to make more, but the truck itself is able to plant that added power to the ground more effectively. So you're actually able to use more of the power that currently exists in the driveline of the truck.
Absolutely. Locking the converter at different times or holding the converter lock or anything, right? Absolutely. Yeah. And actually you touched on a subject earlier when you said, R&D with our turbo systems and all that stuff. And it's like, you think about, tool makers like ourselves, right? Like we don't produce the calibrations. We only produce a tool, right? Well, when you put a turbo on it, how do you keep it calibrated where it's, it's proper and it passes emissions, right? It's like using our tool allows you, the aftermarket doesn't live without a tool like ours, it really just doesn't, you got to be able to recalibrate these things. And so we work really hard on that. It's really, really cool to see how our product and our competitors' products even are used to keep this whole automotive aftermarket still rolling, on the performance side. It's awesome.
No, and it's big too, because it's like, you think about the GM platform as a whole. I've always said, like, Duramax owners and on the GM side, they're in like this cult, right? Anytime a launch for a Duramax product comes live, it's like 10x response wise compared to Cummins or Ford, I feel, at least here at our company. But, you guys released two products. You released T93 support, and then the 3-liter ECM is what again? I'm sorry?
E46.
It's an E46. Yeah.
So you guys released two controllers, and it seemed like the T93 just completely triumphed the E46. Like, the E46 is a big deal. Oh, yeah. That's 3-liter Duramax tunes we talked about never being done. Now here it is, support for the 20 to 22 or 23 model, you said, 1500s. That's a big freaking deal. That is a huge deal. But it seemed like the 10-speed TCM, or in my opinion, the 10-speed Allison support, just completely, overpowered what that E46 support looks like.
So I'll kind of speak to that a little bit. Yes, I do. I want to say that in my mind, obviously the T93 was greatly needed, and it spans across a lot of models, right? So that was, you can speak to that success a little bit. But also there's been a lot of E41 trucks that have been tuned on the market, right, that haven't had the ability to have any transmission tuning, all right? So it, puts them in a bad spot when they really, truly needed it. There's just nothing you can do until, breakthroughs are made.
Right.
But I think that the E46 truck has, a lot of potential.
Oh, yeah.
It's maybe not quite the E41 potential, but I think it has a lot of potential to be one of our strongest sellers.
Oh, I mean, that's such a big necessity in the market space. I mean, we get a lot of inquiries at the shop on 3-liter Duramax, right? 3-liter Duramax, 3-liter Duramax.
Oh, yeah.
But it is a smaller product offering, right, as far as how many trucks are on the road compared to how many guys already have E41 L5P 2020 trucks that were looking for that trans tune. Like, you knew trans support goes live on those trucks. It's a green light. People are chomping at the bit. They got to have it. I'm not saying that the E46 isn't going to be popular. I think the 3-liter is going to be a huge, huge, huge product to go and support. It's just looking at like the 2.8. 2.8's a big product, right? So I think the 3-liters are going to be
E98 trucks we tune all day long, every day.
But
one of the problems with the E46 also was GM has restricted sales on the ECM, so it wasn't like we could buy a pile of ECMs and unlock them and allow you guys to purchase those and keep them on the shelf. So it's put us in a place where, hey, you can send your truck's ECM in. It takes about 24 to 48 hour turnaround time once it arrives at our office, and we'll unlock it and send it back to you. It's like some people don't want their truck to be down. I get that.
Did you say 24 to 48 hours?
Yeah, it's not bad. not at all.
It's not 24 to 48 business days?
No, not at all. So
very quick. I'm just poking fun. I'm
calling Cat.
E41 reminiscing.
Backlog on E41. We're 24 to 48 hours on stuff. Look,
we're talking to a sales guy here. He's selling us right now on the show.
No. I had a dude sitting that I know. He's a buddy of mine. He's sitting at a Jeep PCM, a Mopar PCM this morning, or got in this morning. It was unlocked and turned around today. And I was like, man, that's impressive. And I always question that sometimes, too, because you hear horror stories, and I really don't see horror stories. Sorry about the background noise, guys. I got a new puppy.
You're good. Your kid's there. We get it.
Yes.
I do have one question for you, Andrew. You being in the position you are at HP Tuners and also aware of everything in the industry, T93, you guys maybe had it first, maybe didn't have it first, but you were not first to market. What does that change in the market space? Do you think that do you think there is more demand because there's another person out there, another company out there, another competitor selling it? Or is there less of a demand like the 3-liter where you guys are the first to come to market?
So I'm going to be honest with you. We'll speak to T93, right? Mm-hmm. Currently, what's on the market as competition is built for a certain customer, right? And that's okay. That's acceptable, right? We work with folks like you who are custom calibrating. So we want you building a calibration designed to pair with an ECM calibration. So a TCM and ECM calibration to pair together, that's yours, right? It's like I wouldn't call another company and want their trans tuning and I want your ECM tuning, because you're going to spend the time and the effort to R&D to make sure that thing drives well together, right? A lot of people look at somebody's tuning and they're like, oh, their tunings, they did it a whole nother way other than the way I did it. And I'm like, yeah, but there's a million ways to skin a cat. Like, there's not just one way to calibrate a vehicle. So you learn from different places. You use different tools to make the same horsepower, different maps to make the same horsepower. That's it's not that you're a bad tuner or a bad calibrator, right? It's just that you just achieved the goal a different way than the next guy, right? And that's okay. It's 100% acceptable.
Well, a couple things I'd want to point out there too, not to cut you off, but the other stuff that is on the market versus what you guys give us the ability. You guys aren't a tuning company, right? I'll say that. You'll say that.
No, we don't provide any
He's a tool company.
He's a tool company, and that tool gives us the ability to make multiple different changes, right? And the guys with, guys who put smaller tires on their truck, guys who put larger tires on their truck.
Regear the truck, turbochargers.
Exactly.
Everything.
So I guess for me, it's like I feel like the 3-liter is going to be a slow burn, right? Versus the T93, where it's like the hype was already there for the T93. All you had to do was drop it, right? The 3-liter is like, I feel like people are still in shock that it's available or don't understand what is available for the market. And that's going to be the market that really moves forward over the next couple of years.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be a huge one. I mean, you and I were talking, I think you were, in the high 40s, low 50s on horsepower and gains and like 100 on the foot-pounds of torque, I think.
Yeah, not 60, not 60, but
we're
50.
We're not at 60.
Nah, come on. No, you guys didn't achieve 60, and I'm well aware of that. And I'll be honest with you, that's eco-diesel numbers. I mean, I'm saying I really akin a baby Duramax or like a 3-liter Power Stroke to an eco-diesel customer, right? It's a very, very similar place. It's a similar customer. Their spend's a little bit different than somebody that's willing to spend $120,000 on a truck and $8,000 on tuning. It's a completely different customer, but it is a customer, and that customer should definitely not be overlooked, especially from any type of calibration shop that provides tuning or any type of calibrations or diagnostics work. So.
No, I'm excited. I'm excited for the project not only here but the product for you guys. I do have one question for you though.
Got you. Let's do it.
What is your favorite feature within HP Tuners on either an editor side or data logging side?
I'm no calibrator. I don't know.
Well, what's your favorite thing about an MPVI3?
Well, I mean, my favorite thing about an MPVI3 is that it can be used on multiple vehicles. So I'm not limited. I don't buy something that's VIN locked. You know, I mean, I come from the off-road world, right? For instance, so if you buy a tool and it locks to that vehicle, and then my wife pulls up in her new Suburban or her new Cadillac, right? Like that will be probably a good idea to say something like that. So my wife comes up in her new Cadillac SUV, right? Like my friend Tim, it's a big baller. You know, and then I got my dirty old Dodge with, 385,000 miles on it. And I want to tune my truck. And, let's just say I have a kid and he's got F-150 and I want to tune that. And, let's say I've got my buggy, right? My buggy's got a 6-liter GM engine in it and a turbo 350. It's all built, but, I want to pick up some power there and change the throttle response for off-roading. It's like, I just grab one tool and do it all. I don't have to have a myriad of tools. I don't have to have 5 MPVI3s, right? I just have one MPVI3, and it's like the new one we're really big in and we're growing. I mean, man, the numbers are insane on those. Are the power sports. It's like and people are like, well, it's side by side, and I commonly ask diesel shop owners, I'm like, well, they're like, I'm not interested in that. That's silly, and I'm like, well, how many of your friends have a side by side? And they look at me and they think for a minute, and they're like, well, all of them, and I'm like, yeah, I know.
I've been trying to get Chris to buy one for a while now, man. I said, 50-50, let's do it.
Same tool, bro. Same tool.
We already have the tool for it.
We
already have the tool for it.
You know what? We should buy the $30,000 side-by-side.
Just because we have the MPVI3.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, we each have one. Credit card. You guys are good. Just use Nick's credit card. He'll okay it.
You guys do net 30 on those, or?
God.
Do not use Nick's credit card. I don't want that phone call.
Oh, man.
Andrew said it was okay.
Andrew said it was fine.
Andrew said it was good. He said they were working on it.
He said that he was going to front us on credits to make up the difference. Like, it's good on both ends. Like, we're straight.
Man, you guys would be really sad if you knew what my discount level was at work. People call me all the time. They're like, I bet you get stuff for free. I'm like, no, get 10% off. They're like, oh my God.
We'd be owing you money.
Yes. Yeah, you buy at a cheaper discount than I buy, man. It's crazy. So.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time, Andrew. We're really excited. I know over the last couple days here at the shop, things have been freaking wild with, with the T93, release. So, we're going to keep on trucking along. I know all the forums online and everything. There's a lot of hype regarding HPT and the newfound support that's released. So, we appreciate you taking some time and kind of going through and explaining that stuff to us.
No, I appreciate you guys having me on. As always, always a pleasure chatting with you guys. I love doing shows with you guys. I love when I run into you guys, get to come by because you guys are close to my office and take you guys to lunch and spend a little time, share some laughs. You guys are always a good time. And literally, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it so much today. And let's get some more tuning done, man.
All right, we'll get back to work. You get back to work as well.
All right, talk to you guys soon.
Take that dog out.
All right.
See ya.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us today, guys. This has been Paul Wilson.
And Chris Ehmke.
Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Not 60, not 60, but
we're
50.
not at 60.
Nah, come on.